It's on the worker or kind of the administrative staff to collect all those inspections, to get them to the repair organization if necessary, or to document all those inspections occurring. Being able to have that available in a digitized program where you can deploy it easily on a smart device and put that device in the hands of a worker, and that worker can execute upon those inspections very simply. And then there's no paperwork to manage. You sync it, it's uploaded into the web portal, and that administrative burden is relieved completely.
What are the importance of inspections? It seems like it's this rudimentary day-to-day manual process, but there's so many ways to automate and streamline inspections, and especially in steel, when you have so many moving parts and so many pieces of equipment and so many things that need some sort of compliance standards met.
Yeah, I think the point you just made is really important. So there are standards for which assets should be maintained. There are standards for which areas should be maintained. And those standards, you want to validate that those standards are continuously being met. And a great tool for that is checklists, right? It's something that you can actually put eyes on it. You can actually do some type of validation testing in order to ensure that those standards are continuously being complied with. Use an example. You might require a daily use inspection by an operator on a fork truck. And why do you do that? You want to make sure that the fork truck operates the way it's supposed to. Do the brakes work? Do the warning lights work? Is the seatbelt intact? Is it in good physical condition? A range of checks that are performed before each use, because you don't want that equipment to operate if there's deficiencies, because deficiencies of that equipment can lead to bad safety outcomes, right? So if the brakes aren't working properly, then that equipment should be taken out of the service. It doesn't meet the standard, and you want it to be repaired, by the mechanics going through and repairing, replacing the brakes, right? But what ends up happening is, because of the diversity of the hazards that exists, across the steel manufacturing operations, the checklists become almost overwhelming, right? So you've got a fork truck inspection, you've got a jib inspection, you've got below the hook inspections, you've got safety apparel inspections, you got eye wash station inspections, you got safety shower inspections, you got fire extinguisher inspections. All of that just starts to accumulate and create such a tremendous burden that it's really hard to oversee and hard to administer on a compliance basis, and making sure that these inspections are being performed, and quote, the documentation needs to be there in order to demonstrate it. And if there's a deficiency, how do you actually manage that? You're able to identify the deficiency on a checklist, get it submitted to the proper organization that addresses those types of deficiencies, oftentimes maintenance, in order to get it scheduled to be repaired so that that deficiency can be taken away and that standard for that equipment can be restored. And that becomes really cumbersome in operations like steel.
So you talked a little bit about equipment inspections. How often should inspections be conducted? And this is probably a loaded question, but how often should inspections be conducted in steel manufacturing facility? And does this frequency vary depending on area or process within the plant?
So usually equipment, you can work through different classification methods. I used to think about it like, what is wear and tear? So what is normal use of equipment, and based on how many miles a piece of equipment is operating, and when would you expect the useful life of parts within that piece of equipment to start to wear out. But then there's also kind of destructive processes. So just inherent to the production of steel, it causes, for example, vessel linings to erode because of the high heat intensity and the chemical reactions that are occurring, within steel vessels or maybe steel ladles. So you have destructive processes that you try to predict life, and you have just normal wear and tear. So I think a lot depends on the type of equipment and the types of, quote, service it's being put through as to how frequently inspections need to be performed.
Yeah. What are those critical areas and processes that require the most attention during these inspections?
The ones that can change most frequently are the ones that can result in equipment wear and tear based on upsets in the process, and you can have some really negative outcomes as a result of that. So usually in cases like that, you have real-time monitoring of equipment. Certain sensors might be mounted in equipment in order to give you a real-time indication of critical type and criteria with that operation.
And what technology is out there today that's proven most effective in identifying potential hazards?
Well, I think the human eye is probably one of the best, right? Folks that work in steel manufacturing processes, it's they're actually go out and do an observation of equipment to do a visual inspection. There's other sensors that actually work really well too. Folks are tuned, even though the ambient noise may be somewhat loud in certain types steps within steelmaking operations, their ears are able to detect what's normal ambient sound and what's abnormal, right? So I've been around folks that it's amazing. They'll be like, "Did you hear that noise?" And I'm like, "I just hear a bunch of noise." And they're like, "No, there sounds like there's a fan that's making a rattling noise that is unusual," and they're able to detect that. So they go do an inspection, right? So that draws them to go do an inspection. There's a wide range of technologies now that's available that can actually help with that. But one of the biggest challenges is just performing the inspections to the standard and being able to relieve that administrative burden. And Safety Inspection Manager is a digitized software program that I think gives organizations the ability to ease that burden where it really resides. It's on the worker to perform the inspections. It's on the worker or kind of the administrative staff to collect all those inspections, to get them to the repair organization if necessary, or to document all those inspections occurring. Being able to have that available in a digitized program where you can deploy it easily on a smart device and put that device in the hands of a worker, and that worker can execute upon those inspections very simply. And then there's no paperwork to manage. You sync it, it's uploaded into the web portal, and that administrative burden is relieved completely. Makes it easier to do the inspections, and I think you're able to have a better compliance to the standards for which equipment should be kept in the field, which will result in less inherent risks over time.
Yeah, and don't forget, when you say what's one of the most proven and effective ways of identifying potential hazards, the human eye, right? So the ability to take photos of those hazards and disseminate that picture and save that to the checklist so everybody has visibility, right? Yeah. So you can record that visual hazard. I mean, that's critical in ensuring safety compliance and in keeping people safe.
Yeah, I think that's spot on.